Who you choose to live with after 70 can either extend your life or quietly take pieces of it away. That may sound dramatic, but it's absolutely true. As we age, our physical health becomes more sensitive. Our emotional needs grow deeper, and the people we share our daily life with begin to have a stronger influence on our well-being than ever before. This isn't just about convenience or affordability. It's about peace. It's about feeling seen, valued, and respected in the place you call home. In this video, I'm going to share 5 types of people that seniors over 70 should consider living with, and not just because it makes sense financially or logistically. These are the kinds of people who can help you feel more alive, more supported, and more at ease in your own skin. We're talking about those rare folks who bring peace instead of stress, companionship instead of chaos, and encouragement instead of control. Now let's get started. Number 1, the listener. One of the most powerful gifts someone can offer in your later years is the ability to truly listen. Not just hearing the words that come out of your mouth, but listening with the kind of attention that says, you matter. Your story matters. Your thoughts matter. If you're over 70, you've likely experienced your fair share of being talked at instead of talked with. Maybe by rushed doctors, impatient family, or even friends who seem more interested in their phones than your memories. That's why living with someone who listens, not out of obligation, but from a genuine place of curiosity and care, can be life-changing. The science backs this up too. Studies in geriatric psychology show that seniors who feel heard and validated in their daily conversations report significantly lower levels of depression, anxiety, and loneliness. They also experience improved memory recall and sleep quality. Why? Because being listened to reaffirms our sense of relevance. It tells the aging brain you're still part of the conversation. You're still needed. And that emotional affirmation has ripple effects on the body, lowering blood pressure, balancing stress hormones, and even slowing cognitive decline. But beyond the science, let's speak plainly, being ignored is one of the quietest kinds of suffering. You could be in a beautiful home with everything you need, but if your words fall into silence day after day, that house starts to feel cold. On the other hand, even a modest living arrangement with a good listener can feel like a sanctuary. You wake up knowing there's someone in the next room who sees you not as a burden, but as a human being with stories worth hearing. I once met a gentleman named Paul, 78 years old, retired school principal, lived with his youngest granddaughter and her husband. When I asked what made the arrangement work, he said something I'll never forget: they make space for my voice. He told me that during dinner, they didn't just let him talk, they asked him to. They wanted to hear about what school was like in the 60s, what raising kids taught him, what he thought about life now. And because of that, Paul wasn't just living in their home, he was living, period. So if you're considering who to share your home with after 70, look beyond convenience or family ties. Ask yourself, does this person listen to me? Do they make space for my voice? Because a good listener won't just hear you out, they'll lift you up. They'll remind you that your wisdom isn't background noise, it's the main story. And when you live with someone who honors that, every day feels a little fuller, a little lighter, and a lot more human. Number 2, the encourager. If there's one kind of person every senior deserves to have nearby, it's the one who sees the spark in you even when you've forgotten it's there. The encourager isn't the loudest in the room, or the one who fills every silence with advice. No, they're the quiet kind of strength. The person who notices when your eyes light up at a hobby you've neglected, who remembers that you used to love painting or fishing, or baking bread from scratch, and nudges you back toward it without pressure or judgment. They remind you in small and steady ways that you're still capable of joy, growth, and purpose. Living with an encourager after 70 can change the way you look at aging altogether. Too often, we're surrounded by people who treat us like our best days are behind us. The world might say, take it easy, slow down, don't strain yourself, and of course, rest is important. But too much of that talk becomes a subtle form of dismissal. It can make you feel like you're no longer expected to try, to care, or to dream. But when you share your home with someone who believes in your right now, not just your back then, something powerful shifts inside you. Here's the truth: emotional energy is contagious. Studies have shown that seniors exposed regularly to optimistic, forward-thinking companions actually score higher on tests of mobility, memory, and even cardiovascular health. Why? Because encouragement isn't just a mood booster. It creates a biological response. It reduces cortisol, improves immune response, and supports the kind of mental resilience that helps you Get out of bed with purpose. Let me tell you about Irene, 83 years old, retired librarian, widowed for over a decade. For a long time, she lived alone and had quietly stopped doing the crossword puzzles she once adored. But then her niece, Heather, moved in with her after college. Heather didn't just help with groceries and chores, she brought a spark. Every morning, she'd hand Irene the newspaper and say, "I bet you can finish that puzzle faster than me today." It was playful, even silly, but it worked. Within a month, Irene was back to tackling her puzzles and even teaching Heather the tricks to finish them faster. And here's the thing, Irene started smiling more, laughing more. She walked a little taller, stood a little straighter, because someone believed in her. So if you're wondering who to live with after 70, ask yourself, does this person see who I am now? Do they help me remember that life still holds adventure, creativity, and growth? Because an encourager doesn't just cheer you on, they help you remember the music still playing inside you. And sometimes that reminder is all it takes to feel alive again. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 3, the quiet companion. There's a kind of presence that doesn't ask anything from you. No conversation, no performance, no explanations. Just peaceful, steady company. And for many of us after 70, that kind of presence becomes more valuable than gold. This is the quiet companion. Not someone who fills the room with chatter, but someone who fills it with calm. Someone who can sit beside you for an hour without a word and somehow make you feel more whole, more human just by being there. It might be a longtime friend, a cousin, a neighbor, or even a pet. What matters isn't their background, it's the sense of ease they bring. In a world that often moves too fast and expects too much, living with a quiet companion helps you breathe a little slower. Think of it like this: when you're young, you're drawn to excitement and motion, but as we age, our souls crave steadiness, safety, and stillness. Not isolation, but gentle presence. There's a difference. Seniors who live with someone who embodies calm report lower stress levels, better sleep, and improved heart health. Not surprisingly, these are also the people less likely to develop anxiety or depression in later life. Because when your environment supports your nervous system, your body responds in kind. A quiet house with a peaceful person in it becomes a sanctuary, not just from the noise outside, but from the overthinking and worry that often come with age. Let me introduce you to Earl, age 77. Earl lost his wife a few years ago and moved in with his old high school friend Peter, who had also been widowed. They didn't set out to heal each other or talk through all their grief. They just agreed to share a home. And over time, without ever forcing it, something beautiful happened. Every morning, they'd sit on the porch with their coffee. No deep conversations, just watching birds. Occasionally a shared joke or a memory. But most of the time, just silence. And in that silence, something in Earl softened. He stopped feeling so alone. Because even when nothing was said, he knew someone was there. The quiet companion reminds you that you don't have to do anything to be worthy of love and connection. You don't have to entertain. You don't have to talk through every worry. You just have to be. And there's a kind of healing in that no medicine can match. So if you're thinking about who to live with after 70, don't overlook the power of peace. Don't think you need someone who will fix you or keep you busy every minute of the day. Sometimes the most powerful gift is the person who simply shares your space, gently, quietly, without needing to change a thing. Because in a world full of noise, a little stillness with the right person can be life-changing. Number 4, the practical helper. There's a kind of person who may not talk about love, who doesn't shower you with compliments or emotional words, but who shows their care in the most tangible way possible: by doing. By fixing the squeaky door, driving you to the doctor's office, handling the mail, or reminding you to take your medication. This is the practical helper. And if you're over 70, having someone like this in your life, or better yet, in your home, can add years to your life and ease to your days. The older we get, the more frustrating the small things can become. A leaking faucet, a confusing insurance form, a heavy bag of groceries. What used to be minor annoyances start to feel like mountains. And when those tasks pile up, they don't just wear on the body, they wear on the spirit. That's why the practical helper is so essential. They bring peace not through words, but through action, through consistency, through knowing you're not alone in handling life's daily weight. Now, this doesn't mean you're helpless. In fact, one of the hardest things about aging for many folks is that it forces us to accept help in ways we never needed before. But here's the truth: accepting help doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It means you've learned to prioritize your energy, to invest it where it really matters, in connection, health, and joy, rather than wasting it on chores that wear you down. And this kind of help doesn't have to be dramatic. Take Clara, for example. She's 81, lives alone in a quiet suburb, but her niece Ellie, who lives just a few minutes away, comes by 3 times a week. She brings groceries, sorts the mail, takes out the trash, and helps with any little tech things Clara can't quite manage. Ellie doesn't make long speeches. She doesn't try to fix Clara's life or take control. She just shows up, helps where needed, and leaves with a smile. And because of that steady support, Clara feels stronger. She feels safer. She doesn't dread the small stuff anymore. That's the key. The practical helper doesn't hover. They don't take away your independence. They preserve it by making sure you don't burn it all on things that don't bring you joy. They understand what real support looks like: not control, not intrusion, but reinforcement. A backup. A quiet hand under your elbow when the road gets bumpy. So if you're wondering who to live with after 70, consider someone who balances out your needs. Someone who notices the burnt-out light bulb before you do. Someone who reminds you your dentist appointment is tomorrow, or double-checks that you've eaten lunch. It might not seem glamorous, but it's profound. Because behind every healthy, happy senior is someone who makes the small things feel smaller. Someone who makes the day run a little smoother. Someone who gives your mind and body space to breathe. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 5, the positive soul. There's a quiet power in simply being around someone who lifts your spirits, not with grand gestures or endless energy, but with an attitude of hope, resilience, and warmth. This is the positive soul. The one who, when things go wrong, doesn't spiral into complaints or despair, but instead pauses, smiles, and says something like, "Well, we've been through worse." If you're over 70, living with a positive soul can quite literally extend your life, not just in years, but in quality, in dignity, in joy. Science supports this more than people realize. Multiple studies have shown that older adults who are exposed regularly to positive social energy, whether it's optimism, laughter, encouragement, or simply a calm reassurance, have lower stress levels, better immune function, and even lower risk of cognitive decline. It turns out that our nervous systems respond powerfully to emotional tone. And that means when you share your space with someone who sees possibility instead of doom, your body responds with less inflammation, lower blood pressure, and steadier mood regulation. But this isn't about being naive or avoiding reality. The positive soul isn't someone who ignores pain or denies that life can be hard. They're often people who know suffering all too well, but who've made a conscious decision to see the light through the cracks. And when you're older, when health becomes fragile and grief visits more often than you'd like, their presence can be like medicine, a kind of emotional vitamin you didn't know you needed. Let me tell you about Harold, an 85-year-old widower who lives with his longtime friend Benny. They met in their early 60s and reconnected after retirement. Harold's had a rough go, lost his wife, dealt with cancer twice, limited mobility now. But Benny walks in every morning with a joke, a story about a neighbor's dog, or some silly newspaper clipping he found. He's not trying to fix anything. He's just there. A little humor, a little perspective, and a whole lot of presence. Harold once said, "Benny doesn't change my situation, but somehow every day with him feels lighter." And that's the secret. The positive soul makes hard days bearable and good days even better. They create an atmosphere where aging doesn't feel like decline, but like evolution, where limitations aren't tragedies, but simply adaptations. This kind of person helps you laugh at yourself instead of scold yourself. They remind you that even if your knees ache, your heart can still feel young. And most of all, they model what graceful aging looks like, not through perfection, but through outlook. So, if you're considering who to live with after 70, ask yourself who makes you breathe easier? Who reminds you, simply by being themselves, that life is still beautiful? The answer to that question might point you towards someone who doesn't just share your roof, but helps you reclaim your peace. And as you age, peace becomes more valuable than gold. Final thoughts. As we grow older, life has a way of showing us what truly matters. It's not the size of the house, the number in the bank account, or how many people know your name. It's who shares your quiet mornings, who listens when your heart is heavy, and who respects your choices without trying to change you. After 70, peace becomes more valuable than pride, and companionship more meaningful than competition. The truth is, not everyone you've known in your life is meant to walk with you through this stage. And that's okay. Some people were chapters. Others are part of your entire story. What matters most is surrounding yourself with those who remind you that you're still growing, still learning, and still worthy of being deeply loved just as you are. If you recognize yourself in any of the people we talked about today, whether you're the calm one, the joyful one, the listener, the protector, or the wise old friend, then hold on to that part of yourself. And if someone in your life fits these roles, cherish them. Tell them, life is too short to keep appreciation to yourself. I've known folks who moved in with family, some who chose roommates their own age, and others who formed beautiful bonds with neighbors they'd only known a few years. The common thread wasn't blood or history, it was mutual respect, kindness, and the shared understanding that aging is not a decline, it's a deeper chapter. A chapter where relationships become more intentional, and every conversation holds more weight. So ask yourself this: who brings you peace? Who helps you feel like you belong? And who do you feel safe around, even in silence? That's your answer. That's who you deserve to be near. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.